agenda. Good evening. Welcome to the August 15th Township Council meeting. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on December 21st, 2023 by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in Municipal Building, and filing with the Township Clerk. If we could have a roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Here.
Councilman Cordilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Perdoso? Council President Ring?
Here. If you're able, we'd ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Cordilla.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move into our agenda, I will just let you know we are aware we have a air conditioning problem. Contractor is literally working on it as we speak. Can't promise you how the temperature will be, but apologize in advance, but we will continue to move forward with the agenda while they're working on it. With that, would ask for a motion to approve the July 18th minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Going to ask for a motion on the August 1st minutes, just noting I am abstaining since I was not present for that meeting.
I'll move those minutes.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Thank you. All right, we'll start with Township Council reports with Councilman Cordilla.
Okay. What I'd like to report is that I attended a third open space recreation and open space master plan meeting. And also since our last meeting, I've had some conversations with residents expressing concerns over speeding in neighborhoods and so forth. And I guess what I'd like to do at some point is us as a body look into, with Chief Mitzak and the police department, is the possibility of getting speed bumps installed in some of these neighborhoods.
Is that your report?
That's my report.
Okay. Councilman Nogales.
Thank you, sir. Continued personal discussions with Warren Mayor Victor Sordillo regarding the billing to Warren for Warren sewage conveyed through Bridgewater. The heavy lifting and documentation on this subject had already been worked on by Tom Genova, Mike Pappas, and Bill Savro over many months. We are attempting to update somewhat vague contract wording dating back decades. More to follow after my planned telephone call with Mayor Sordillo tomorrow morning. They're actually meeting tonight, and that will be a discussion. Participated in numerous email exchanges, telephone, and conferences dealing with police vehicle fleet maintenance and procurement. As a township, we continue to struggle with parts availability and, as importantly, the escalating cost of repair parts for all of the vehicles used by the township. Under Superintendent Richard Schimpf, the vehicle maintenance staff, read that as mechanics, make valiant attempts to reuse and repurpose parts from retired vehicles to keep line vehicles on the road, but always, always to ensure that they are safe to operate. I would like to revisit a subject I talked about several years ago, that being street lighting not working. The township, under contract with JCP&L and PSE&G, pays for streetlights, lots of them. We pay for them whether they are working or not. So it's a lost cause. It's like an airplane. If the airplane leaves with a vacant seat, it's lost revenue. In our particular case, it's a sunk expense. The electric company does not patrol for a light outage. They rely on reports from employees and residents. I intend to discuss township reporting process with Mr. Pappas so we have a centralized location for the future. Road work in the township continues on two fronts. First, we have the formal 5-year plan frequently discussed at numerous council meetings in each of the 6 township areas. Then we have the PSE&G mill and overlay on some streets as negotiated by the administration to address the issue of PSE&G gas line replacement. A good example is the Talamini work from 202-206 to the JCC driveway, completed just this week. I wrote on it this morning, it looks fine. Speaking of the PSE&G gas line replacement, that work either in the street or the hookup by PSE employees will continue for some time. I underscore that only PSE&G credentialed employees will be doing the hookup within someone's home. If someone other than a PSE&G employee comes to your door to say they are going to hook up your new gas line, do not let them in. Check with the township. A question I have been asked numerous times is, will I have a gas shut off in the house with my new line? The meter's going to be outside, of course. The answer, according to Township Engineer Bill Burr, is no. Your main shutoff will be outside by the newly installed gas meter. You can, however, at your expense, hire your own contractor to install an inside gas shutoff, should you prefer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Pedroso.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Congratulations to Bridgewater Raritan High School graduate, Casey Murphy, for winning the gold medal at the Paris Olympics. Casey was a soccer star here at Bridgewater Raritan, went on to play for Rutgers, and has achieved so much in her young, blossoming soccer career. Like many in our Bridgewater community, I look forward to watching Casey's continued success. Casey competes in women's sports, where she rightfully faces other women. It's common sense that women should compete with women in physical sports. Allowing men to compete alongside them would create an unfair advantage. Yet this common sense is being challenged on today's athletic fields. Transgender girls and women are often allowed to compete in female sports, and at times, this results in physical advantages that make it impossible for cisgender females to compete fairly. I empathize with transgender women as they seek their place in sports. They deserve fair, equitable opportunities to compete, just as all people do. Equal treatment must extend to everyone, including transgender women. However, when one group's rights overshadows another's, we cross the line from equality to preferential treatment. Women have fought for centuries to gain equality with men. Within that struggle, they've had to carve out their place in the sports world, a world historically dominated by men that often suppressed women's participation. Now, transgender women are fighting for their place in sports, but their physical advantages can place biological women at a disadvantage, sometimes even in harm's way. Transgender women have the right to compete in sports, but not at the expense of fairness for cisgender women and the progress made in women's rights. As these issues become more prevalent, they will undoubtedly touch upon our Bridgewater Raritan schools. I urge our Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education to stand firm for equality and protect the rights of our young biological girls, ensuring they have a fair and level playing field, just as Casey Murphy did. Thank you.
Councilman Kirsch.
Thank you. First, just a quick reaction to the comment from Councilman Cardilla about speeding and general safety. Perhaps with the school year starting soon, we could use this as an opportunity through our newsletter, through our email bulletins and social media, just to reinforce that safety message. Slow down a little bit, be mindful of pedestrians and school buses. So perhaps that's a short-term takeaway that could be something that can make at least a limited difference quickly. On August 6th, the planning board met, approved a subdivision on Mountaintop Road with a sizable number of conditions after substantial conversation and debate. Also during that same meeting, the planning board took action on the area in need of redevelopment that is also now on our agenda tonight, the area off of Foothill Road, and also addressed the amended master plan housing plan element. The planning board met again briefly on August 13th to memorialize several of the actions from the previous week, and then later that same evening, the zoning board took up a new case. It's known formally as 821 Bridgewater LLC. It involves the JCC property they own and potentially developing a portion of that land for additional JCC active use and a portion of that property for age-restricted townhomes. Yesterday, the 14th, was a busy day for several of us. Mayor, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but simply acknowledge that a few of us were up at Camp Cromwell with Congressman Kane, and I'll simply let the mayor give additional detail. We were then, I was then, a few of us were over at Avnos, a new business that's operating over on Milltown Road that has a commitment to the environment. They have a technology that removes CO2 from ambient air, and I do recall being on one of the land use boards when that building was heard to move to that technology use. And then finally, yesterday, spent some high-quality time with our senior citizens. One of the events in Bridgewater that I look forward to every year, that's the Senior Citizen Appreciation Day and luncheon. This year was a celebration of happy days, and it's certainly something I'm glad to have attended and look forward to each year, and that's my report.
Thank you. Before I start, just want to piggyback on one thing Councilman Norgalis said regarding PSC&G. As one that has gone through this process, PSC&G is the only one that will come in the house, but the contractor runs the line to just outside the structure. So the contractor will come on your property, but should not come in the house. So just so the folks are aware. I was honored to participate this past Saturday in ribbon cutting and grand opening of a new venture here in Bridgewater called Success on the Spectrum, or SOS, located right at 745 Route 202-206. This is part of a national franchise, but owned by some local residents, including Mahesh Vallani. And this is a group, an organization that caters to 18-month-old to 18-year-olds diagnosed with autism. They've opened about 2 months ago in their facility, and they are already negotiating with the landlord for additional space as they are quickly outgrowing their space. So we welcome them to Bridgewater and wish them lots of luck in the future. I'll piggyback on Councilman Kirsch's comments, participated with an event with Congressman Kane and the mayor, and I'll let the mayor speak to that. Also participated in the Jefferson High School reunion, AKA the Bridgewater Senior Center Senior Citizen Appreciation Day. While Senior Citizen Appreciation Day is not until next week, Bridgewater did recognize all of the seniors that are members of the Senior Center for all of their efforts and commitment to the community over the years. And would especially like to congratulate Jennifer Osterberg, who runs the Senior Center, on an absolutely phenomenal program. Participated in various meetings with the administration on budgets, police vehicles, PBA contracts, and the like. And lastly, just want to congratulate all the athletes that participated in the Olympics, and in particular, former Bridgewater Raritan High School goalie Casey Murphy for her participation in earning a gold medal. That's my report. Turn to the mayor for his report.
Thank you. I do have a few items to discuss tonight in my report. First and foremost, though, we will. One of the highlights of yesterday, which was a busy day, was our we had received our check from Congressman Kane and the federal government for Camp Cromwell. So we have our $4 million check. Since we don't normally get money from the federal government, that is always nice to see. We'll put that up there for the day. But in all seriousness, it was really great. I really appreciate Congressman Kane's work to help get us that grant. As everyone knows, of course, Camp Cromwell was a amazing piece of property that has been something that we were able to preserve with the help of the county years ago, and now we're working on opening that property to its fullest extent. We're hoping that with this money and some of the other resources that we have, we can certainly get the park open to the public for at least for some of the uses. It may take us a little longer on getting all the buildings up and running, but at least to be able to open it, get the trail system open, get the parking lots done and some of the initial work so that the public, I think some of the public is back there right now. They shouldn't be, but to get it actually open for the public so that we can move that project along. So thank you to Congressman Kane and the efforts of his staff to help us secure that money, and we look forward to putting it to good use. Yesterday, we also, as Councilman Kurtz mentioned, I attended along with Congressman Kane a tour of the Avnos facility, which I'm sure a lot of people don't know. It's across from North Branch Park. It's a building that's over there. It's kind of, you wouldn't necessarily think much of it as you're driving by. Avnos, though, is at the cutting edge of carbon removal systems. So what they actually do, for lack of a better term, is they have what looks like a giant generator, and they remove carbon from the air, excess CO2. So it's part of efforts from, the state of New Jersey has requirements to be 0% carbon footprint by 2050. The federal government has a lot of, goals and, goals towards that agenda and attempts to do that. And what their technology does, they develop here in Bridgewater. They have 12 PhDs that are based here in Bridgewater. They're doing all the research right here. If these are deployed, right now there's one deployed in California, but at a large enough scale, companies, let's say, that can't control their point, source point contamination. So like take an airline. If an airline wants to try to make an impact on its carbon emissions, it can't stop the planes from burning carbon fuels. But what it can do is it can essentially use enough of this technology to say, we've removed the equivalent amount of carbon from our uses with this. So they get a lot of federal funding. That's really what's pushing that technology development. But it was pretty cool to see that right here in Bridgewater with a lot of the, they said that they came to New Jersey in large measure because of the talent pool and the CEOs in California, but they came out here between the great location of New Jersey in general and Bridgewater in particular. So we're happy to have them, and they look like they're going to double in size in a year. So we'll have about 24 people in that building, and they have a lot of room to expand for more R&D research right there. So that was pretty cool. The senior event, which was mentioned earlier, I just want to comment. Jennifer Ostenberger did a phenomenal job yesterday. I mean, the room was packed. The program was absolutely wonderful. The seniors really enjoyed it. Congressman Kane and Assemblyman DeMayo, who was also with us in the morning, attended along with myself and Councilman Kirsch and Councilman Ring. But it was just a great day there. So I want to thank all the seniors who participate in our senior program, as well as all the seniors who are part of our community. The day yesterday, other than being a fun event, was celebrating Senior Citizen Appreciation, which is actually next week, but our event was yesterday, to thank all the seniors for their contributions to our community, to our families, to everything that our senior population brings and values for Bridgewater as a whole. So thank you to our seniors, and thank you to our staff for that wonderful event. I want to thank Gabriel's Fountain, which came in and did a ice cream social for our employees. I think it was last week or week before, but I really appreciate their work. A lot's been said already about Casey Murphy. Hopefully, I've been in communication with her. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do something here locally to honor her success. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that her brother Kyle is also very active in town. He is involved with the wrestling program, as well as I believe it's the high school freshman football coach. So the whole family is very active in our community and very active in athletics here in Bridgewater. A couple other notes. I did attend, as we all know, we lost a former police officer. Well, I guess it was a week and a half ago. Lieutenant Dinan, who passed away. I attended his wake up in North Jersey last Tuesday. I can't remember. It was last week, I believe, or a week and a half ago. But just wanted to take a moment and remember his accomplishments and contributions to our community. He was here for, I think it was about 25 years, 27 years. I say it was a long time.
One of the few that stayed longer than 25.
I was going to say you don't see that as much anymore. So, but that I want to make sure we remember those folks who dedicate their careers here in Bridgewater, helping to protect and keep us safe. A couple other quick notes. I had a meeting recently with the owners of the mall. That at some point, I think in the fall, they're going to come in, hopefully, and do a little bit of a presentation. But I just wanted to comment that the direction that they're looking to go with the mall is one that is consistent with our vision for the mall, which is to keep the mall a mall. And
No housing?
That's has not been proposed. So it was I was really, I don't want to get out in front of them and what they're ready to discuss publicly, but I just want to say it was a very productive meeting. It went longer than we anticipated because I asked a lot of questions, but I like the direction that they are proposing to move in. They have some more moving parts, but I asked them if they could come to a council meeting at some point in the fall when they are ready to talk about some of the actions that they're looking to take in the short term and the medium term, all of which I think is going to be very well received by the council and the community. So more to come on that. The one item I wanted to just mention, I don't know if any of the residents are here on this issue, but there's been some discussion about cul-de-sac removal and islands within the town. So some of our, as council may know, some of our cul-de-sacs, for one reason or another, have islands in them. Wherever they were put in at the time, I don't know what the policy was then. We don't put them in now. But there are islands in the middle of the cul-de-sacs, usually have trees or shrubbery or something in them. And we have, removed, as we have repaved roads, we have removed some, but not all. I was under the impression previously that we actually had been removing all of them, because that's, as a general matter, I think that is the direction that we tend to want to go in, because they require maintenance from our staff, or they don't get maintained and they don't look great. They generally get in the way of plows and paving and all the other road maintenance. But an issue came up because some residents on one road had raised concerns over the fact that we removed the island, and in looking at this further, it appears to me that our policy has not been, or our practice has not necessarily been consistently either communicated or consistently implemented. So there's been 4 roads that have had islands that we've repaved, part of the paving program. What's that?
Left the landscaping islands?
2 we left and 2 we removed. And so I just wanted to kind of flag it, because the information I had previously was under the impression that we had been removing all of them. It looks like we had not removed all of them. And moving forward, what we're trying to do is we've asked engineering and public works to come up with a generally consistent policy on, if we're going to remove them, we're going to remove all of them, as a general matter, or if we're not going to remove all of them, some sort of criteria with regard to how to communicate with residents when we are or not, or what that criteria is. Because in this instance, I think our communication as a town was inconsistent with the residents, who at one point, we're told, I think, hey, we're not sure what we're going to do. The next thing they know, the island's being removed, and they're kind of saying, hey, we didn't know there was even a decision on this. What's happening? So this one was not handled ideally, and we're going to look at possible solutions on this particular road, but we're going to make sure going forward that we have a clear, consistent policy internally and externally on how to handle these islands. So I wanted to mention that, and if council members have other questions at any point in time, let Mr. Pappas know, and we'll set up any meetings or communications with our engineering and public works team as we go through that. So that's the last item of business that I have in my report. So thank you all.
Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to the municipal budget. There's a public hearing component of this. I just want to, for the public's benefit, we actually have 4 different public hearings tonight. So want to make sure everyone understands what each of the hearings are for and what comments can be given during that. So the first one will be strictly on the municipal budget, the 2024 municipal budget. I will entertain a motion to open public hearing on the 2024 municipal budget.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Members of the public wishing to address the council on the budget should come forward, state their name and address, and they will be allowed 2 minutes unless there's unusual circumstances.
Good evening, Kathy Franco, 766 Weemac Road. Let me first say this is long overdue, the introduction of this budget. Let me just get to this page again. According to the NJLM, which is the New Jersey League of Municipalities, the mayor, we're a Faulkner Act, correct? Can I get an answer on that? Okay.
Yes.
So according to that, the statutory date for budget transmission to the governing body is 1/17, with a revised date of 2/27. The submission of annual financial statement is 2/10, with a revised date of 3/8, introduction and approval no later with a revised date of 3/29, and adoption by the governing body of 4/30. So we're now in August. So we're 4 months past that. You've done, I believe, 3 extensions or whatever it is, those approvals that you do to, give you permission to keep spending money at 2.5% over the previous years. I think that's a disservice to the public. That's not the way I budget my personal finances. That's not the way I budget at work. At work, my fiscal year starts in July. My budget had to be submitted no later than March 1st. My budget was approved no later than June 1st. I don't understand why you as council and why you as a mayor and administration cannot project the costs for this township. I think that you knew what you were assessing properties at. Most of us have taken on at least a 10% property tax assessment increase. In addition, you increased the property taxes over that. So even though you continue to claim, oh, you're only a small percentage of our overall taxes, you are having a significant increase. I think you need to tighten your belts. I think you need to stop cutting public works and increasing administration with Office of Constituent Relations, which I don't know what they do, but I think they're overstaffed, and other administrative roles. I did not get the opportunity to deep dive into the budget because I never got a response from my request for the detail of the budget. So all I can say is I, as many residents, and unfortunately they're not here to share their concerns, are very disappointed in you as a mayor, in you, Mike Pappas, as an administrator, and you as a council for not demanding a budget to be presented to your public The public that votes for you and the public that you're supposed to be, I don't know, I heard a few years ago you don't represent us, that you're here to legislate us, that you're here to govern us. But the whole thing is, you know, just be aware, this is not appropriate. Okay? You don't have an excuse this year. You don't have COVID. You don't have anything else, okay, as an excuse for why you didn't have a budget ready in March. Thank you very much.
Last call for anyone on the budget.
All right. I, first of all, want to say thank you for all the work you guys.
I'm sorry, just,
My name is Sarika Maheshwari. I live at 1020 Sunset Ridge.
thank you.
But thank you for all your work. My daughter went to Bridgewater High School, had an amazing experience. So it's a good place to live. I personally don't 100% disagree with the lady before me. Taxes have gone up. I think somebody mentioned something about streets, correct? And we pay PSENG or JCP&L, but we don't know where these streetlights are, to be honest, as public. We don't know where they are, so we can't tell you that they're not working because I've never seen any streetlights. And I've lived in.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, this is public comment on the budget specifically?
It is
Okay,
commenting on the budget.
Okay.
If you're paying for something and you're not getting it, and we don't know what it is, then it kind of is the budget. Again, Councilman, I'm sorry, I do not want to butcher your name. You had spoken about police cars, and it's not just about police cars, it's about cars in general. The roads are disastrous. So I understand there is a budget for the amount you can spend on roads and reconstruction, but if things aren't put back in place, if roads are not done properly, then cars are going to be destroyed, not just private vehicles, but also government vehicles. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
thank you. I don't see anyone else. Is there a motion to,
Motion to close public input on the budget.
although, I'm sorry, we have a motion?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions. All right. We are closed on public comment on this. I'll read 9B, and after we have a motion and a second, we can have a discussion. It's a resolution for the adoption of the 2024 municipal budget. Municipal operating expense is $50,553,644.98. Sewer utility of $13,272,310.62.
I'll make the motion to adopt the 2024 municipal budget.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second a motion.
Okay. Discussion.
I just want to thank the council for its input throughout this process. We think the budget meets the service needs of the community and does it in a financial responsible manner. That's all I have. Oh, and the one comment, I guess, the resident about the streetlights. Yeah, we're forced to pay for those no matter what. So the only way we get them addressed is if either we're aware that a light is out, or so it's. We can talk more about that if you have that concern. But since you mentioned it's part of the budget, yeah, they charge us whether they're on or not, and if we don't report that they're off, then we still get paid. So, yeah, I know. It's I hear you. I know. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else comments on the budget?
Very, very brief comment. Mr. Council President, I will be voting a no on the budget. I believe the amount to be raised by taxation this year is very high. I think it would be prudent for this governing body to consider at this time perhaps doing cuts. Cuts would be appropriate, and without any cuts in departments or budgetary items, I will not support it.
Mr. President, I'll just comment briefly, acknowledge the process that we undertook, similar to previous years, highly collaborative, many meetings between the administration and the Budget and Finance Committee, which is Council President Ring and myself, and then bringing in our other colleagues one by one to make sure that they saw where we were headed generally, had an opportunity for input, and then certainly also saw the semi-finished and then ultimately the finished product. This is a difficult budget, and there's really very little debate there. We face a substantial number of mandates, new expectations, new requirements. We're all living in a hyper-inflationary time. Certainly the news that we're back at 3% is terrific, but doesn't eliminate the fact that we've been living for 2 years in the 8 to 9% range. It affects everybody's home, the cars that they have on their driveways, and it certainly affects the municipality and all the vehicles and equipment and everything that we need to operate for the good of the citizenry. 3 areas I just want to quickly highlight as positives for the budget. We've made investments in transparency through improvements that we will soon be working through on our website. Also our document management system and our recording system, which is in place right now, as our public meetings are recorded and available for viewing afterwards. In the area of public safety, critically important, particularly as crime seems to be on the rise. Car thefts, catalytic converter thefts, and home invasions. This budget funds 2 additional police officers and a substantial amount of necessary equipment for our police officers, including license plate readers. And as far as managing our debt and making other fiscally responsible decisions, we've paid for the turf field in cash. We've paid for our financial management system in cash. We've paid for a new fire safety vehicle. And though this is on the sewer utility side, we have made $1.2 million of purchases for necessary utility trucks. So in my mind, there is no question. These are difficult budgetary times. They're difficult times around each and every kitchen table, difficult times at this dais. But I do firmly believe that we have constructed and are now in the process of taking action on a fiscally responsible budget that will provide for our present and our future. And that's the reason why I support this action today.
Any comments? Nope. No. Okay. I will just share that and I've said this in the past, a budget is a work of compromise. A lot of folks want a lot of different things. I think Mr. Pandos, if he had to try to find money for each and every request that was made, would never be possible. And it's a balancing act. I also once heard someone say if we spent our entire budget one year on redoing every road in Bridgewater, we still wouldn't have the money to redo every road. So it's give and take, trying to assess each and every person's requests versus their needs. I will tell you from a personal point of view, when you look at the average homeowner in Bridgewater, yes, there are reassessments that go on. That is a process between the township and the county, the county ultimately certifies the assessment increases. They impact each and every one of us, including those of us sitting up here. Any tax increase does. A home in Bridgewater, based upon reassessment and adjustments to the tax rate, the average home, the increase from Bridgewater portion of their taxes is about $166 a year, I believe it was. So out of your total tax bill for the portion of Bridgewater, it's about $166, give or take, of an increase. And it's not something I take lightly. It impacts me just as well. As you've heard some folks say, it was a challenging budget. I will also comment that I will thank Councilman Kirsch for his efforts in the Budget Committee. Once we received a draft of a budget for the Budget Committee to start working, I guess probably about 2.5 months ago. We worked through that, and I think we were able to get something introduced in about 4 to 6 weeks, and then it has to sit for 28 days before we can take final action. So I thank the Budget Committee. I thank each and every council member that provided feedback. Any final comments on the budget? If not, we'll take a roll call.
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso,
No.
and Council President Ring.
Yes. All right. With that, we move to item 10, which is another open public comment. This, before we talk about that, we will have 2 other public comments tonight, one on calendar year budget appropriation limits, cap bank, which we do every year, and then another one on lead-based paint inspections. So this portion of the public meeting open to the public is for anyone wishing to address any issues other than the cap bank and lead paint. With that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion open to public.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. The meeting is open to the public. Any member of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there is unusual circumstances.
Hello again, Kathy Franco, 766 Weemac Road. Okay, so other issues, and I don't know that I'll keep this under 2 minutes, just to set the stage. Because it's anything other than public hearing and final ordinances. So when we talk about the certification of the municipal audit, under New Jersey Statutes Administrative, NJSA 40A5-4, annual audit required. The governing body of every local unit may be, by resolution, petition to the director for an extension to complete the final audit within the division, but otherwise it should have been completed within 6 months after the close of the fiscal year. So I'm just wondering, why it is that we're now in August before the public is seeing this. Maybe it was finished, but we certainly, as the public, didn't get to see it, and I understand there's a corrective action in place for this year, which is the 2nd year in a row, which is very disappointing. So those are resolutions 13A and B. 13C and I. We talk about 13C is the redevelopment of the area on Route 22, which is 1200 through 1220, Route 22, as an area in need of redevelopment. I'm pretty sure that's the area that had been asked for zoning, had been gone before zoning as far as a warehouse. So my question or concern is, and I think there's also a lawsuit that's pending with the township. So is this our way out of a lawsuit, is to declare it an area in need of redevelopment, and then whatever the township wishes to do with it, they can say, oh, guess what? You can do warehouses on that little slice of land or that little piece of heaven. The other is the resolution regarding Block 349, Lot 2, also known as 136 Foothill Road, which is better known but not clearly identified on this agenda as the yard waste site, the municipal yard waste site. Mr. Kirsch, you talked about transparency. And I've heard you talk about transparency in the past. And Mr. Nogales, I've heard you talk about transparency at previous planning board meetings and not sharing, we share lot and zones and blah, 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 and we share addresses, but we don't clearly identify for the public what these areas are. So don't talk about transparency in one conversation and then have agendas that aren't transparent to the public. Because, I mean, I'm one person. And yes, I try to stay on top of all of you. And it's not an easy job. But you all know where these properties are. And you could, indeed, if you chose to, be transparent. But it really appears, based upon these agendas that are being published, that you're choosing not to. Okay, let's see. I think I have,
Try to wrap it up, please.
well, I appreciate that, but you know what? You have a lot on the agenda. And I appreciate you only give us 2 minutes, but Mr. Mensch had over 10 minutes to give his report, okay? Mr. Pedroso, I am appalled and have had enough with your comments about things outside of your lane when it has to do with the town council meeting. You have talked about everything from the Trump jury decision now to the Olympics and to the Board of Education. This is not the appropriate forum. If you want to speak about those things, go to the Board of Education. Go online. Go and have a press conference. This is a town council meeting. Stay in your lane. And as far as cul-de-sac removal, I hadn't heard any rumors about that. I'm glad my cul-de-sac island was not removed last year, but actually was maintained. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Darren, 543 Foothill Road, also 29 Lawton Road. We're the old Brewer property. If anybody remembers Elmer Brewer in the town? You do. Okay, so we have the old Brewer property, and the issue of the cul-de-sacs has actually hit us very hard, as we are the only home on the end of Lawton Road on the cul-de-sac, which I had been since March. So for 5 months, I've been in contact with Dan at the OCR regarding this. As of the week prior to a tree crew showing up at 7:30 in the morning to cut down the established trees in the cul-de-sac, I was being told no decision had been made. I was told by Tom at the town engineering that if it was up to him, every one of these cul-de-sacs would be left alone. I've been given reasons by Tom Genova that every cul-de-sac is being removed. It is town policy, and no matter what, they're all coming out. He also told me that they have to be removed because ambulances can't get around, or because a fire truck can't get around, but since we have unfortunately had an ambulance to our home before, that's not the case. And since Santa comes around every year on the fire truck through the cul-de-sac, I don't believe there's any issue with the fire trucks getting through. I think that my issue and the other residents on our street, the issue that we have is that we have, sitting here in front of us, 5 elected town councilmen, an elected mayor, but there is an unelected bureaucrat in the director of municipal services who is ruling by fiat on these issues. No one in the community was told that any work was occurring with this. No one was given any notice. No one was given any opportunity to comment. In the 5 months that I've been talking to the OCR about this, I have said that, my family, since we moved in 10 years ago, we have taken responsibility for cleaning litter out of this cul-de-sac. When branches grow into the road, we trim them back. When there are issues with snow, I take my tractor out and I snow blow the entirety of the cul-de-sac so that there's no issues with it. In 10 years, we have had somebody come in, trim plants in it once, which was last year. And in terms of snow blowing, we had a county plow truck come through once and it buried our driveway in snow. So I fail to see where the expense in the maintenance comes from on this when there is no expense. What I have expressed previously to the mayor, to the director of municipal services, and to the OCR is that if there's an issue with the maintenance, we're more than willing to take care of it. We can even put a rider in our deed saying that we are responsible for this maintenance with financial penalties if it is not undertaken. So my question to everyone here is, if we are electing leaders in this town who are running on the platform of saving our communities and preventing the character of it being destroyed by overzealous development, things of that nature, why is there an unelected official in the government who can just snap his fingers and make this happen?
Just real quick. First of all, it's not what happened with your cul-de-sac is not on the director of municipal services or any kind of unelected bureaucracy. Okay, that anything that happened there starts with me. I'm the head of that administration, and as I commented earlier, this situation, as I said, was not communicated well. There was, as I've been looking at this, because you've raised it. I mean, this is got onto my radar. We've realized that we have not had a consistent approach to these cul-de-sacs or a consistent messaging. And unfortunately, while you've raised it and it will help us address it moving forward for other cul-de-sacs when these comes up, unfortunately, I did not, we did not get to the point where it was before your years were removed. So what I can tell you,
At this point, the trees have been cut, but the cul-de-sac, I mean, it's still there. And my family's more than willing to pay to restore what was there.
So what we're going to do, sir, on this, and we can talk more about this outside. I'm happy to meet with you in my office, with me there. But we're going to take a look at what the options are with regard to your street. I don't want to promise you one thing and overpromise, underdeliver. I mean, we're going to look at it and decide what options we're proposing, and I don't know if that will be satisfactory or not to you, but we're going to look at it.
And again, even what I have expressed to Tom Genova and to the town engineer, or I guess the assistant town engineer, and to Dan in the OCR, is that we have had an ongoing issue because our driveways, we have 2 driveways on the property, one on Lawton Road and one on Foothill.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, mapping apps keep connecting to the 2 together so that people, including PSE&G the other day, thought our driveway was an extension of Lawton Road.
Yeah.
So we have, driveway gates up because we have 3 small kids, we have dogs on the property. We've had an ongoing issue of people driving, literally running right through the gates and hitting things on our property, ending up in the stream next to our property, things of that nature. Actually, the stream runs through our property.
Yeah.
So there is a major safety issue in that cul-de-sac. The planting forces people to slow down and go around it instead of coming straight into our driveway. Yeah. And there's a safety issue, and what I was told by Tom Genova is that our safety is not his issue. The fact that Google is sending people up the road that only has one very small sign saying dead end, and making them believe that it's a way to cut through is not his problem. He said, take it up with Google. So I'm a little bit off-put that this is how somebody in the town government is speaking.
I think, again, we can talk, like I said, I'm happy to meet with you to talk more about your experience with the town and also, resolution of your issue. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at our policies to make sure that, again, we approach these because there's other cul-de-sacs with islands in there. I believe that as a general matter, I believe that the direction of the Director of Municipal Services, as a general matter, was consistent with my direction, which was generally to remove them. And now that has not been done consistently, and that's one of the things that we're looking at to say, why was the decision made here or not there? What was the communication between the contractor, engineering, OCR, my office, to make sure we're on the same page? So I can't tell you that. I mean, I said this was not handled the way it should have been as a general matter, but we'll take a look at it, and any concerns you have, we said we'll meet with you. We'll figure out if we can resolve it.
I've been communicating with the town for 5 months, and as of several days prior to a tree crew showing up at 7:30 in the morning,
yeah, I know.
we were told nothing had been decided, and we would be the first ones to know once something happened.
I completely agree. I looked at all the communications. I tracked that myself. So we recognize there's an issue, and I just want to make sure that I said it to you, and we'll see what we can do.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I think one thing, if I may just piggyback on that issue, look at this issue. I think one of the things that needs to be done, and the gentleman has actually, spoken to me, as you're well aware, regarding this issue. I think we also need to have a clear policy on communication to the residents on the street as to what we're doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things
Should
that
be written communication to the residents that says cul-de-sacs going or cul-de-sacs staying.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that in this instance, like I said, it didn't work the way it's supposed to work. It's the same like we do sidewalks.
Yeah.
And so we've taken a look internally to make sure that we figure out how do we fix that we don't have a communication problem where residents being told, no decision's been made. Next thing you know, they look out their window and there's trees being cut down, and somebody says, well, somebody made a decision. Who's not communicating to each other and who's not communicating to the resident? And that's something that in this instance, we failed on, and now we're going to figure out how to make sure that it's just a one-time failure. And
We learned from the issue.
That's it. So
Thank you.
I guess the other thing that, because again, a number of neighbors have come to me since this is right in front of my property and said, hey, what did you do? And I said, it's not us. We had nothing to do with this. We've been maintaining it. Because, a few have come up and said, hey, why'd you cut it down? But I guess the question that I've been getting asked is, at what point is there a difference between a street milling and resurfacing project and a capital improvement, and how are the two handled separately within the town? Is the installation of storm drains and removal of islands simply paving, or is it a capital improvement that needs to be looked at a different way? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dan Zielinski. I live at 715 Chimney Rock Road. I have recently gotten back from touring the country on a road trip with my son of 6 weeks. So I just got back. I don't know that I'm fully prepared to talk to you guys about the budget, but I will say that several months ago I was concerned because, and I guess like tonight's theme is transparency, apparently. I raised the question of, we kept saying that we had a flat tax rate. And I was trying to point out that there's a difference between the tax rate and the tax levy. And the tax levy is really what sits on the shoulders of the residents. And that was the reason that while, Mayor, you were saying we had a flat tax rate, as residents, we were getting an increase in our in the amount of dollars that we were paying out. And in my mind, I think Mr. Pedrosa was perhaps the only council member that picked up on what I was trying to say. Of course, you probably don't remember it because it was months ago. But I did take a look at the current budget. And, like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to take a deep dive into this. But I am really concerned because the rate that our tax is going up has like unprecedented. Like we're going up 11%. But the thing that concerns me most is what the forecast is for next year. So when we are talking about the tax levy, we are talking about, and I'm just going to round up, $27 million. But what you guys are forecasting for next year is $38 million. That's a 42% increase. That's sort of shocking to me. So, and I also want to say that I think residents perhaps need a little bit more time to understand what's going on with the budget. I can appreciate that you guys earlier gave folks a chance to speak. And, I'm certain, unbeknownst to you, you closed that comment out before I had a chance to get up and speak as it relates to the budget. The only other thing that I want to say is the first woman that came up, I do want to say that I agree with her that, Mr. Pedrosa, this is not an area for your, political beliefs. I don't know what it is that you've said about the Olympics. Be interesting to find out. But let's just talk about the business of Bridgewater and, how what you guys are doing or not doing is, managing the township and ultimately managing what we as residents have to pay. And that's my comment for tonight, but I do hope that you open the discussion up further for questions about the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarika Maheshwari, 1020 Sunset Ridge. Actually, mine is more of a question. I guess my question is, how many years does it take to repave all the roads in Bridgewater?
It would be a lot.
A lot?
Yeah.
Like a lot, as in
20 years.
20 years?
We have 200 roads in Bridgewater. That's about 600 miles of roadway that are Bridgewater controlled roads. That's not counting Route 22, 28, county roads like Washington Valley Road, things like that.
And there's other factors too, because we can repave a road you get a road that is 10 years old and the utility company wants to dig it up. Like, there's a lot, it'd be one thing if we paved roads and nobody dug up a road for any reason.
No, I absolutely
Oh, yeah.
understand. I'm just
There's a
trying
lot
to
of different
understand it.
variables.
Because I don't, like the previous gentleman said, I have not really studied the budget. I'm just asking a question. Because I see that potholes get fixed. They're temporary fixes. And then you get them again in like a matter of a year or two. I've lived in my house over 5 years and my road has not been touched. I'm just trying to figure out what the process is.
If you're not aware, we are in year 4 of what was announced as a 5-year project to Bridgewater. Up till 5 years ago, historically has not done as good a job as the town should have when it comes to roads. 5 years ago or so, hired a company who went out, evaluated roads, prioritized them. We are in year 4 of a 5-year commitment for a total price of $40 million to repave roads throughout the township. Now, will that repave every road? No. If you have specific questions and you have not looked, I would encourage you to look at our bwroads.com website. You can see rankings of your street, how it was evaluated, and if it's in any of the plans for this year. But we are working through, as of a couple years ago, we put a process in place and are working through that.
Okay. I appreciate
We're trying to get beyond the constant pothole patching.
I appreciate the clear response. I mean, I was getting confused because I've seen some major differences. I live not too far off Foothill, off mine. So I've seen the differences, but then I'm like, I turn on, my house is the first house on the street. So
Are you right off of mine? You're on mine, or are you
No,
on the part
right
after
off
you go up on the pavement, you make the left up there? Yeah, yeah. Sunset Ridge. I run sometimes up there, and I know we've done some of the roads in your area, but we have not done your road yet. But
yeah, and
common.
the really complicated thing was that just almost a month ago, a tree fell down on the corner of the road, which took down a lot of wires and stuff, which caused more damage, and the tree is still cut up in the side of the road. And we're like, is this ever going to be taken from here? We have no clue. It's not on our side of the street. I was actually really happy about that because we're getting landscaping done. So I was like nervous about that because we were out. But I'm like, every single time we turn in, it's kind of like, it's horrendous.
If a tree comes down in the road, we will clear the road to open it, but if the tree fell from private property, it would be on the private property's owner's responsibility.
It is from a private property. So that was just, I didn't know if that was how that worked. So thank you so much.
Yep.
Yes, John Arcola, 1110 Washington Valley Road. I thought I heard somebody say that you couldn't fix all the roads repaving within 20 years. Is that correct?
I just guesstimated it would take 20 years. I don't know if it's
Okay, well, let's use 20 years. 20 years at $8 million a year is $160 million with accrued interest. That's another grand total of $222 million, $250 million. Is that really where you people want to commit to road repaving in Bridgewater? Right now, you have $85 million of outstanding debt with accrued interest over $100 million. You're just going to just blow through that, well, at least doubling it at the rate of $8 million a year. You basically said
Mr.
you
Arcoli, I
can't
don't
repave the
think anyone
roads.
has said that we're committing to repaving every.
Just heard the mayor
How
say,
long would it take? Not, are you going to vote to do that over a
I
certain...
just heard the mayor say 20 years, he can't.
Hey, guys, it's not worth arguing with John. Just let him make his comments and let him sit down. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
All right, well, that's where we're going. Thank you much.
Anyone else?
Move to close public input.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to the next public hearing. 11A is a public hearing and final action on calendar year 2024 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and to establish a cap bank under NJSA 40A:4-45.14, something we do every year procedurally. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve, to,
Open.
hold the public hearing on 11A.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Public comment is open for any comments on, specifically on 11A.
Hello again. Kathy Franco, 766 Weemac Road. This is an area that I truly don't understand, this cap bank thing. I've been told I don't understand it. So I was wondering if this body could actually explain what happens with this cap bank that you exceed each year, and that I think, I don't know, like, do you put it in a reserve and then you get to spend it later? Because there's never, every year you vote on it, every year you approve it, and if every year you've approved this 2% or whatever it is, like, why isn't that money available now instead of taxing us? This excessive amount this year, if you've been reserving all this money for this. So perhaps
I can explain
here
it to you.
could actually explain this to me.
I can. So the cap bank is not actual money. So under the municipal finance law, there's rules about what municipalities can do or can't do to with their budget. So one of the restrictions is that you cannot raise spending over a certain, it's 2%. Now there's things that are in the cap, out of the cap. It's not as
There's some things
more
in the cap and some things not.
right. So in other words, if our health insurance costs go up by 10% a year, that's not counted against us, but we can't raise
salaries.
Yeah, salaries or of general spending, the expense side by more than 2% a year. So what you can do as a municipality is, if let's just say that I don't know off the top of my head, somebody here knows it, I'm sure, but let's say this year we're only increasing the expenditures in the cap by 1.5%. Mm-hmm. We can take the other 0.5% that we're not increasing spending on and bank it. So for 2 years, right? So let's say next year,
you want to go up 2.5%.
We're going to go up 2.5%. We can say, well, we didn't go up 0.5% last year, so we can take that extra bank. The idea being they don't want towns to increase all their expenditures every year automatically by 2%, because they don't want people to be afraid, well, if I don't do it this year, it's going to catch up with me 3 years down the line.
Like the school teacher budget, right?
Right. So they don't want to say, hey, we just want to increase 2% no matter what. So they say, okay, look, we're not going to penalize you if you don't. So this is not actual money. This is us saying that we haven't increased expenses as much as we're allowed to under the law. And we are taking the excess increase that we did not use, putting it into the bank so that if there was a problem, next year or the year after, and we need to go up by whatever the difference is, it's banked. So we're not taxing people more now in advance of.
Okay, so how much of this bank are we using this year, or how much of the pre-existing bank are we using, I guess would be my question. Like how much that has been sitting in the bank are we using towards our spending this year?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. Bill might know Bill, if you know off the top of your head, you can answer Ms. Franco's question.
And while he's pulling that, just so we're clear, if we don't pass this and something happens next year and we want to go above the 2%, we can't. So it's almost like it's a formality of a process that's like buying an insurance policy.
I understand. I'm just wondering, like, how much did we have in the bank?
I don't remember
and
the
how
exact
much of
number,
this year's
but-
bank are we using? And will we have anything in the bank moving forward?
Expired in 2 years. So to use in this budget, we had a 2022 cap bank and a
What are we rolling over this year?
We're using this year. This year is, so we didn't raise taxes or expenditures in 23 and 22. And then, so this year is a take year. Last year and the year before were
Give year.
give years.
So basically, there will be nothing in the bank for next year? Is that my understanding? And what will be left of 2023? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Any other comments on the cap bank?
I'll move to, unless there's anyone still wishing to make comment, I'll move to close public comment and proceed to passage of the cap bank ordinance, subject to any necessary discussion we may want to have.
Second motion.
Okay, any discussion amongst the council?
Mr. Council President, consistent with my prior votes on these issues and also consistent with my votes this evening on the budget, I will be voting no.
Okay. Any other comments? Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes?
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Ergalis?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
No.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. Our last public hearing, 11B, is adding Chapter 63 to the Code of the Township concerning lead-based paint inspections.
I'll make the motion to open to the public and conduct the hearing for 11B.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Public hearing is now open on 11B concerning lead-based paint inspections. At least we're getting your steps in for you tonight.
And this is more a question or clarification, perhaps because I didn't understand the ordinance. I understand that anybody who rents, I think, for residential, is that correct? That they need the lead base?
Landlord that
Any
has
landlord?
a house that they're renting out.
So is it both residential and commercial, or is it just residential?
I believe it's
It's both, okay.
And they have to have an inspection, and they have to file their inspection with the town. The town has to process that. This basically establishes a $25 filing fee associated with that to cover our costs associated with the required filings.
Okay, so
Summarize that correctly? Okay.
okay, so there's 25. Now, was there an opportunity for, I saw where like there's, I know there's people out there who do this inspection. Was there something where the township offers it to be done through the township, or?
Have a partnership with a vendor. They can pay that vendor, but we're not doing the actual inspection.
The
Okay.
township had the option of doing the inspections themselves or hiring an outside consultant, which is what we did.
Okay,
By
so,
the way, this is 1978 and earlier vintage buildings.
Right.
Once they have successfully passed the inspection by whoever legitimately did it, they're done for the rest of that building stands. So this is not something
so it's only buildings that were constructed prior to 1978, or
That is correct.
renovated after?
anything prior to 1978, because lead was used in paint extensively in prior years, and this is the.
I'm a child of that era. So if somebody did like a whole house renovation or a whole building renovation after 1978, would they also be subject to this?
Well, if they did the renovation after 1978, they would not be using lead-based products.
Right, okay. And now I'm just trying to understand, because I didn't quite totally, I try my best to understand all this stuff, but thank you very much. I truly appreciate your time.
Anyone else with comments about lead-based paint?
Seeing no other comment, I'll move to close the public hearing and proceed for final action on 11B pending any discussion we may need.
Second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Comments?
Just briefly, it's my understanding, based upon our discussions at the prior council meeting, that basically we have to comply with state law, and this ordinance puts us in compliance with state law. So therefore, I don't really think that there's really have much of a choice either way, even if we had a different feeling about it, so I will support it.
By the way, the state law was passed in 2022, but they provided a 2-year window for the township to play catch-up on it. And we're at the close of that window, so this brings us into compliance with all of the state requirements for this act.
I'd like to thank Councilman Norgalis for his tenaciousness in working with the administration and getting us to where we're at today. I know it is something that you have been all over.
Yeah, so to speak, yes.
So, yes, and I apologize. I know your motion was to close public hearing and move final action. We just want to restate your motion that we had done.
The desire to, since we've already closed to the public, to take final action on 11B.
Second.
All right. Unless there's any other comments, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Norgalis?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. We're done with all of our public hearings. We will move on. 12A is introduction of ordinance, an ordinance to set the compensation of the mayor, township council members, department heads, and certain other municipal employees pursuant to Chapter 374 of the Public Laws of 1985, NJSA 2A:809, NJSA 2A:8-13, NJSA 40A:9-165, NJSA 40A-9, 135, NJSA 40A:9-146, and Chapter 95 of the Public Laws of 1996.
Only comment I have is that it was reported at one point that the mayor or council were getting raises. No one is getting a raise. The salaries have not been increased in at least 20 years. So there's no raises for mayor or council members in the ordinance. But it did come up in the context because we, as everyone knows, there's some expenses that are allocated to the sewer. We reallocated the full salaries for elected officials to the actual budget, and that was, I think, the confusion. But no increases for elected officials.
Mr. President, just to be clear, that's really more of a housekeeping item than anything. We still hold the same responsibility that we do over the utility. The question is exactly how we're being paid, and now the answer is 100% from the municipal budget.
I just have one comment. We use titles of the organization. We don't use names, and sometimes this is perplexing because a person moves into a specific title role as a new person and looks at this ordinance and says, gee, I'm entitled to the same amount that the person was who's been serving there for 20 years. It's just I'm not sure if in the future we shouldn't consider just using the name of the person to show what their salary is as opposed to the
I
title.
think the challenge you run into when you do that is that person is given a salary for the year, and then if over during the course of the year their job changes, their salary has already been set.
Oh, but you can go back and ordinance it and change the salary. The problem is the new person moving into that job says, hey,
Okay.
the old person was getting whatever it was, that's the number that I think I should have. But seniority and things like that.
So if you change in the middle of the year, yeah.
Well, you can do that we do it all the time when we
Yeah.
promote people.
Okay.
Anyway, just a thought, but
Or add language to the ordinance that says it's specific to the person holding the office at the time of this ordinance,
that would do it.
I think is where you're trying to go. Okay. Any other comments on 12A?
I'll make the motion to introduce 12A.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Any other comments? Otherwise, roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Norgalis?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Abstain.
Council President Ring?
Yes. We could set public hearing.
Final action is scheduled for September 5th, 2024 at 7:30 PM here in the municipal courtroom. Public inspection of this ordinance is available on the township's website, bulletin board, and through the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to resolutions. 13A is a certification of the 2023 municipal audit.
Council President, you may want to also do 13B at the same time.
Sure. 13B we'll do on consent, resolution approving the corrective action plan, and that is related to 13A.
Yeah, and just very briefly, everyone has the audit, 2023 audit. The only item that was flagged for 13B is that there were 6 assets essentially that we keep a schedule of everything that we own, and our auditors found 6 items that had been omitted from the list that they needed to add on. So that's the only issue with the audit, and we've identified those, and instituted a corrective action plan, which is to put the items on the list.
You know, there was some earlier comment too. The audit was delivered to the council on August 2nd. So this is our first meeting since we've received the audit to take action on it. Any other?
No, that's it. Other than that, we had a clean bill of health, and I appreciate Mr. Pendos's work and our auditor's work, making sure that we had a corrective action plan last year from prior issues, that those issues have been addressed, and that we are continuing to make sure that we're doing everything right and not missing anything. So they're very diligent on their work.
Move resolutions 13A and B.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call on consent 13A and B.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgalis?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. 13C, resolution authorizing and directing the planning board of the Township of Bridgewater to undertake a preliminary investigation of Block 221, lots 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, 2.0, and 2.01, pursuant to the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law, NJSA 40A:12A-1, etc., for classification as an area in need of redevelopment, and redirecting the township's redevelopment planner to prepare a study investigating whether Block 221, lots 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, 2.0, and 2.01, also known as 1200, 1210, and 1220 Route 22, constitute an area in need of redevelopment.
So this is one of a couple items on our agenda, and our efforts to fight overdevelopment and make sure that the land uses that we see in town are consistent with what we want. We're asking the council to ask the planning board to, again, consider whether this piece of property is an area in need of redevelopment. As everybody knows, this is the Gray Mark property on 22. We are currently in litigation with them because they were trying to put in uses that we banned, which is the warehouses. We didn't want warehouses there. We're fighting them and continue to fight them in court. We believe there's an opportunity to take a look at alternate uses on the property, which would be preferable potentially to the township. So this is a process that would allow us to continue to protect our quality of life by making sure we don't have overdevelopment uses along our 22 corridor that are inconsistent with what we want to do.
And just so the public is aware, passing of this does not mean that development starts tomorrow. This is a process that goes to the planning board, who researches it and works with the planner to make a determination of what may or may not be appropriate there, goes back to the planning board, and then comes back to the council. This is several months, and then from there, this is not something tomorrow is being developed.
Correct.
And Mr. President, I'm just going to, maybe I'll show a visual, once again, have my printout of the 6 steps of the development process as laid out by Alex Fisher. So there's a little accolade there. So we're going down the pathway. We're at step number 1. We have 2 others in pipeline, and that's the process that we follow.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain.
Move 13C.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. 13D is award of contract to HM Company LLC, 3 Orlando Drive, Fairfield, New Jersey, 07004, for the Bridgewater Senior Center located on Somerville Road improvements, which includes the base bid for interior plumbing and electrical repairs in the sum of $237,500, funded through the CDBG COVID-19 Resiliency Program and the 2024 Capital Fund.
This is exactly what it sounds like. It's some of the improvements that we've been talking about for a couple years that will improve the quality of the senior center, funded through federal grant money.
Move 13D.
I'll second.
Okay, if I may, just real quick, we're funding about $14,000 of that work. The rest is coming from the grant. So, sorry, we have a motion, we have a second. Unless there's further comment? Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. 13E is authorizing release of the performance guarantee in the amount of $37,873.66 and the release of $1,200 tree bond, acceptance of the site improvements for VMR LLC, Block 315, Lots 7 and 8, now Block 315, Lots 7.01 and 8.01, located at 605 and 609 Bridgewater Avenue.
No comment, no additional comments. Release of the bonds.
I'll move 13E.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion with a second. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. 13F has been moved to 15A. 13G, authorizing dispersal of $81,883 from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for renovations and repairs for 4 low and moderate income properties located at 295 Yorktown Road, 50 Ardmere Drive, 4020 Crawford Court, 214 West End Avenue through the Bridgewater Housing Rehabilitation Program.
Yeah. Council President, this is part of our court-ordered COA program as part of the Round 3 2015 program that we have, which requires us to make available to the public who qualify certain grants that are paid for through the COA trust fund money that we've collected over the years from various developers or in instances where we've gotten COA fees to rehabilitate housing that is, as it says here, kind of low and moderate. It may not be official COA housing, but it's part of our program to make sure that we provide, by court order, the services to low and moderate income folks. So that's what this is.
Okay?
Move 13G.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second, unless there's any comments. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. 13H is a waiver of construction permit fees in the total amount of $233, of which $120 electrical, plumbing $75, and a DCA training fee of $38 for the Somerset County Regional Animal Shelter located at 100 Commons Way in Bridgewater for subcode fees associated with the replacement of cabinets. The animal shelter, while they're sit on the township property, they are a standalone organization that share the land with us, waiving fees as we would do for any other nonprofit organization.
I'll move H, 13H.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. 13I, resolution designating the property identified as Block 349, Lot 2, also known as 136 Foothill Road on the tax map of the Township of Bridgewater as an area in need of redevelopment, non-condemnation condemnation pursuant to the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law, NJSA 40A:12A-1, et cetera, for classification as an area in need of redevelopment and directing the township's redevelopment planner and planning board to prepare a redevelopment plan.
Very briefly, this is the Yardway site mentioned earlier. This is property that was initially, we asked the planning board to review whether or not it is an area in need of redevelopment. This is, property that the township owns that is down by, in the Fender section of town to look at what could or should be done, if anything, on that property and the most effective and efficient uses of it. So what this is doing is asking accepting that and asking them to actually prepare a plan since it has been deemed an area in need of redevelopment. It was heard in front of the planning board, which accepted that designation. So that's the next step.
If I may, I think it's important to show our commitment to the continued location of a Bridgewater-based yard waste facility there. We're not considering removing it in total. It would probably be smaller in the future, but it will still be there.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, and that's all part of the plan that would be looked at, is to say, right now, they have a piece of property which is not really being used kind of efficiently or effectively, and looking at, it's an important asset to Bridgewater and what can or should be done with it.
Move 13I.
I have a question. Are you sure that the address is correct? Because when I put it in Google Maps, it pops up as McDonald's by Costco.
I Googled it earlier out of curiosity because somebody had mentioned about the address, and I did check it. It's the correct address.
Is it? On Google Maps, it goes to,
The assessor's records have this as 136 Foothill.
is it West Foothill or just Foothill?
No, it's Foothill. I just Googled just to check it before. I just Googled, Bridgewater Yardway site, and 136 Foothill pops up. So don't know about the McDonald's.
According to our township website, we list the yard waste site as 136 Foothill Road.
Okay.
I have a question.
I guess technically
On
wrong.
this project with the study and all that that's going to be done, if I recall, when the promenade was built, there was a lot of, a portion of that property was declared wetlands and
Correct.
all kind of restrictions on it. This study, I presume, will address all of those concerns?
That's right, and that's part of the issue, is you have a piece of property which is, down there abutting the promenade section. A lot of it is wetlands. There's restrictions on what you can and can't do. You have DEP regulations get involved. There's a whole host of stuff. So any plan, any proposal would have to identify which areas are completely non-usable. As you know, with green acres or DEP restrictions, sometimes you can say, well, if I use some area here, I have to make it up somewhere else, and you can swap land, but all that stuff would be done as part of the plan.
Mr. President, if I may, that was addressed to a degree at step 2. So again, tell Alex Fisher. I already told him. All right, he got a second shout out. So we completed on this one. We completed step 2. That was the planning board preliminary investigation and public hearing. Councilman Cardillo, during the public hearing, there was a map that was shown that very clearly illustrated which areas are wetlands, which are border wetlands. And my personal observation was that a sizable amount of the easily buildable property presumably was built upon with the hotel, with what has become Trader Joe's, Costco, et cetera. But there are possibly pockets within this property that would be suitable for building. There's many parts of it that will not be. And just for the public's knowledge, we're now at this combination of step 3 and step 4, adopting this resolution, and then the council authorizing preparation of a redevelopment plan. So while this one is on its way to being at step 4, the other item that we started down the path at step 1, and that's how the process has been working well.
I notice you referenced that document from Mr. Fisher a lot. Who was it that Mr. Fisher wrote that email to?
Well, that was addressed to
I'm giving you a hard time.
a T-ring at bridgewaternj.gov.
All right. Any other comments? I heard a motion. Was that your motion, Howard?
I'll make the second if that's still in order.
Okay.
I just want a commitment from the administration that I'm not going to see any apartments here.
Ooh.
Okay.
Not unless ordered by Round 4 COA, I guess. I mean, but no, that is not our intention to do any kind of apartments there.
All right. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. Next up is a resolution for closed session. We can
Yeah,
do a resolution, and then I want to speak briefly about process and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, just I assume, I know we've had our staff, our police officers here. I just want to make sure that, I know we've had conversations with folks, so I want to make sure that, we still need a closed session on this. If we do, then our staff is here. Mike's telling me, yes, we do. So, but if the council didn't need a closed session on it, then we can vote on it. But if the chief is here, if you have questions. And we would have to go to closed session for that.
Okay. I guess maybe just a quick straw poll. Do you need a closed session, Mr. Pedrosa? Mr. Kirsch?
I think there's a desire to go to closed session, if only because it's a public safety matter and we want to have a discussion on
I
it.
will entertain a motion for closed session.
I'll make the motion to go into closed session to discuss what was previously referred to as 13F and has been redesignated potentially as 15A.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. So we have a motion. Let's do a roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Orgales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Sure.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. So I'm going to read this and then I'll comment further. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council, this body will now hold a meeting closed to the public to discuss public safety. When and if the matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting and further notice therefore is dispensed with all within accordance Section 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. So we are going to close the meeting to the public, which means the public does have to leave. I do like to tell you before you can, if you would, when we come back from public session, there is the potential that we will vote and take action, which you are allowed to be present for that. You are welcome to stay outside if you would like. If you want to go home, you can also watch it online, but you cannot stay in the room for the portion of the public session. There's only one item planned for potential action following the public session. So, thank you.
And Mr. President, just one other item. In the event that we do take action at 15A, there will likely be a reasonable public explanation for what we're doing before going to a vote.
We're good. Okay, we are back. I'll take a motion to resume our public meeting.
Make the motion to resume our meeting.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We have completed our closed session. At this point in time, I am going to read Resolution 15A, which is authorizing a 4-year lease purchase financing agreement in the total amount not to exceed $652,379.92 for the acquisition of 9 police vehicles through Gentini Motors, 2703 Fire Road, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234, via the Cranford Police Cooperative Pricing System, contract number 23-01. And I will introduce that. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments on 15A?
Only comment I have, generally, is that the chief and his administrative team have put together a proposal for police cars, and which calls for the purchase of 9 cars, 5 marked, 4 unmarked, and I support the recommendation of the chief, and with regard to the purchase of the vehicles and the breakdown of the types of cars and the uses for them, and ask for the council's support for the purchase as recommended by the chief.
As the mayor stated, this is 9 cars, 5 marked, 4 unmarked. After analyzing the mileage on our existing marked fleet, I'm looking at 11 cars that have in excess of 100,000. One has even 150,000 miles. I feel the split of 5 and 4 is insufficient to maintain the quality of the initial response fleet. I would have preferred a 6-3 or even 7-2 split, but absent that, I will not be supporting 15A.
I just want to acknowledge that we had a robust conversation, considered a few different options, and the consensus seems to be to go with the original recommendation.
Yeah, I'm not going to second guess the chief's recommendation. The chief certainly knows his department better than I do and what his needs are to better serve the community and keep our residents safe. So I will go along with his recommendation.
Alan, any comments?
I sort of agree with Howard. I'd like to see more patrol, but I understand what the chief is saying. And I think we need to get this, we need to move it forward rather than putting it on the table and redoing it. That's the part that I'm really torn on with this.
I have one additional. I guess the first I heard of this split was a week ago. If we're going to get information on something that is of such an important nature to the public and nation, I'd like to get the information well in advance so that can be time for more fruitful discussion.
Just so it's clear how the cars are going to be split, whether it was 5-4 or 6-3, in actuality, the vehicles patrolling our streets would not change. The number of black and white vehicles that are patrolling the streets and our residents would see would not change. It would just be that how the vehicles are being replaced may change, but the actual cars are on the road and how they're allocated would not change. So the residents would not see any more or any less black and white vehicles on the road if that ratio was changed. Just a matter of how and when the vehicles are replaced.
Thank you. I think we had a very passionate discussion, and I think we still have passionate feelings, and I respect that. I think we have a recommendation from the police chief and from our Public Works Director, who is the one that is tasked with his team with maintaining these vehicles. The two of them have really put a lot of time and effort into this and have come up with this recommendation, and I fully support their recommendation. They're the ones that are, their teams are operating these vehicles and servicing these vehicles, so fully support. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
No.
Councilman Ergalis?
No.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Ring?
Yes. All right. Unless there's any other business, I will, Councilman Norgalis, would you like to make your,
Move to adjourn this august body with vote of thanks for the late hour.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you. What's that? Yeah. Yep. That's my